Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this quick webinar on Kickstart Your Career in FP&A. So FP&A is becoming an important element of the finance function. We see that there is a lot of demand for FP&A. I get requests from CFOs every day asking for FP&A talent. So what is FP&A? Why is it gaining so much of importance today? And how can you build a career in FP&A? So that's what we will be discussing today. So welcome, good evening, everybody, once again for Kickstart Your Career in FP&A webinar. Over the next 45 minutes or so, get rid of all the distractions. We'll completely focus on what is FP&A, understanding how you can build your career in FP&A, and why will it be beneficial for you? Okay. So first of all, thank you for your trust. You've taken out your valuable 60 minutes to spend time with us to learn something new. So thank you for your trust, and pat yourselves on the back for taking action, right? So very few people, in fact, a statistic says that less than 3% of the people take active action to develop their careers, which means that, and no wonder that 3% of the people are leading the world's organizations. So the fact that you've taken some action to understand about FP&A and how is it beneficial for career itself a step towards progress. So pat yourselves on the back for taking action. So what are we going to cover today? We'll start by understanding what is FP&A, where does it fit into the organization, why is it gaining so much of importance? To also try and understand how does a typical FP&A month look like? What are some of the activities carried out in FP&A? What do FP&A teams do on a regular basis? We'll try and understand how a typical FP&A month looks like. Then I'll share with you a quick FP&A career framework. If you have to build your career in FP&A, I'll tell you the exact steps what you will need, or the exact skill sets that you will need to build your career in FP&A. And finally, we'll talk about the FP&A certifications which are available out there in the market. Okay. So all in all, 45 minutes. It's going to be an exciting session. You'll understand a lot about FP&A. So get rid of all the distractions and let's get started. A little bit about me before we begin with. My name is Dhawal Parvatikar. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I've also completed my 1-year general management program from IIM Ahmedabad. I served for 16 years in the industry as CFO and finance leader across India and the Middle East. I worked with industries like oil and gas, commodity trading, software services, advertising and public relations services. I'm now the co-founder of FP&A Professionals Institute. I've been an active mentor, a trainer, and a coach over the last 5 years, and I've trained more than 5,000 professionals on various topics like FP&A, finance business partnering, data storytelling, CFO career coaching, and much more. Okay, so happy to be here today. I've also had the privilege of hosting more than 10 events or being part of 10 plus CFO events over the last 12 months and build an active community of 200 CFOs in the Middle East. Somewhere I've gone in as a speaker, as a moderator, as a keynote speaker, as a panelist. So I have tried to build this community of 200 CFOs in the Middle East over the last 12 to 18 months. My partner Asif, he had some meeting today. I'm not sure he'll be able to join, but let me quickly give you a brief about. Yeah, Asif.
Hey, actually, I just finished recording a podcast, and that podcast is still uploading. So my camera is attached to that tool, and I'll not be able to switch. But I'll quickly introduce myself.
Yes.
So quickly, if you cannot see me, you must have seen me on LinkedIn. I have been working in finance and FP&A for more than a decade now, and worked across all of these organizations that you see, Citi, Pfizer, Coursera. And most recently, I was actually lead at Coursera for Asia and India, and that was my last role. And in November 2023, I and Dhawal decided to start or co-found the Professional Institute. And that is a little bit about me. I'll pass it on back to Dhawal, unless he has another slide for me. Okay. So as you can see, we started working on the FP&A Professional Institute right from 2022. So this was Saturdays, Sundays. We used to work on FP&A Masterclass, which was the first live FP&A cohort-based program that we started back in 2022. And eventually 2023, we made this a full-time institute. And over the last 3 years, we have trained more than 5,000 students across all of these courses that you see on the screen. Back to you, Dhawal.
Amazing. It's been an exciting journey. And one thing Asif and I share is our extreme passion for helping finance professionals upskill themselves. You will always see us post a lot of content on LinkedIn, do one-to-one calls with our mentees. We are always active on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out if you have any career-related questions. So why bother learning why is FP&A gaining so much of importance today? Everywhere you're seeing FP&A jobs, and why are they asking it? Now, let me give you two important motivating factors. Like, we did our own internal survey, and 8 out of 10 CFOs said that it is generally difficult to find the right FP&A. Everybody wants experienced FP&A talent out there, but there are just not enough experienced FP&A professionals. So which means that anything that you learn in FP&A today, whether it is through experience or through a certification or through any training or coaching program, it is sure to get attention on your resume, and it is sure to get at least a call from the recruiter. On an average, FP&A roles command at least 15 to 30% more salary than regular finance and accounting roles. If you take out any popular survey conducted by large recruitment agencies like a Michael Page or a Kingston Stanley or a Robert Half, you will notice one trend, that is FP&A manager roles are generally about 25 to 30% higher salary than regular finance and accounting roles. And the reason for that is because the skills are special, and also it helps add value to the business as well. So these are the two main important reasons why you should definitely consider learning FP&A right away. Here is another report. According to the World Economic Forum report, accounting is one of the top 10 fastest declining jobs in the world. So if your role is just accounting, bookkeeping, or making sure that the journal entries are passed, soon those things could get automated, and your accounting profession will slowly start losing its relevance. So that's why any role which has business partnering, which has decision support, which has analysis, will still continue to be much more relevant in the market compared to a plain and simple accounting job. Again, it's not something which I'm claiming. This is a World Economic Forum report that has recently released. Now, how is FP&A different? Now, if you can imagine a CFO's office, there are multiple functions reporting into a CFO, right? Financial reporting, somebody is responsible for financial reporting, taxes, somebody is responsible for treasury, supply chain finance. And each of these functions or each of these roles have a specific part to play, right? So for example, financial reporting is responsible for making sure that the financial statements are produced, the statutory internal audit, SOX audit, all of these compliances are taken care of. The tax team takes care of the tax compliances, the return filings, the opinions in the required in the business. Treasury team takes care of banking relationships, making sure that the working capital is adequate, making sure that the credit line is secure. All of these things are taken care of by the treasury team. So this way, every function has a certain role to play. And amidst all this chaos, which is that function which kind of keeps the CFO and the decision makers in the company informed about the performance of the business? How are we doing as a performance? Are we hitting our targets? Are we pricing our products correctly? What are the margins that we're earning? Which branches are performing well? Which products are performing well? Which products are not performing well? All of this kind of information is provided to the CFO and decision makers in the company by the team. So the main role of FP&A is to analyze and empower these CFOs and other senior decision makers in the company so that they can take informed financial decisions. So that is why you will see that FP&A also kind of enjoys this unique position of sitting very close to the CFO's office. Even when I was serving as a CFO, bulk of my role, probably 60 to 70% of my role, was actually into performance, was actually into managing the performance of the business, pricing, decision making, budgeting, forecasting, all of these things. And only about 10-20% of my time I used to spend on compliance, audit, statutory audit, and all of that stuff, right? So that's why and it also enjoys this unique position of sitting very close to the CFO's office. Now that we know where does FP&A fit into the organization, so what is FP&A, right? So to understand this word FP&A, financial planning and analysis, we can deconstruct this phrase into two parts. One is financial planning and the other one is financial analysis. Now, financial planning is the future-looking part of FP&A, where we are talking about activities like preparing a business plan, budgeting, rolling forecast, short-term forecast, long-term forecast, long-range planning. All of these things come under the financial planning umbrella of it. Then comes your financial analysis. This is all about supporting the business with ongoing analysis of your performance, right? Which could include activities like variance analysis, like after you close the month, actual versus budget, actual versus forecast, current month versus previous month, current year to date versus previous year to date. All of these different kind of comparisons, and then analysis is executed. And then you compile that into a management commentary and send it to the CFO and other decision makers in the company so that they can take some informed decisions. So largely, decision support, evaluations, that is what is all about financial analysis, which is analyzing the ongoing performance of the business. Now, what are the main activities involved in FP&A? Right? Now, there could be dozens of small set of activities involved in FP&A, but all of them can be largely grouped into three buckets. One is budgeting, forecasting, and the third one is management reporting or management commentaries. Now, budgeting is your annual business plan exercise. Typically, before the start of the financial year, now let's say if calendar year is a financial year, companies typically in October, November, December, they start preparing the financial plan for the next year. Now, what is the estimated revenue? What are the different set of costs? What is the operating profit? It's like target setting, and that is a one-time exercise. A budget is a one-time exercise that is prepared before the start of the financial year so that you have your targets ready before even the financial year starts. Then comes the forecasting. Forecasting is all about tracking the ongoing performance of the business during the financial year. For example, let's say if calendar year is a financial year and I have my Jan to March actual numbers. So I will do a Q1 forecast, or what we popularly call as 3+9 forecast. 3 months of actuals and then 9 months of forecast. If I'm at the end of June, then I'll do a 6+6 forecast. 6 months of actuals and 6 months of forecast. Okay. So a forecast is not an amendment to the budget. A budget number is frozen, it's approved by the board, and it is there in the system. A forecast is more about ongoing tracking of the business, that are we meeting our target and how far are we from the budget. That's why forecasting is important. It is either executed on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis, depending on your size, complexity, and structure of the business. Then comes management reporting. You will produce different kind of reports, some to the business head, some to the branch head, some to the CEO, some to the CFO. Depending on different stakeholders, you'll produce a lot of management reports. And in order to produce those management reports, you will do these two tasks. One is variance analysis, different kind of comparisons, trying to understand what is the variance and trying to dig deep into the business reason for that variance. And the second one is profitability analysis. Think about a large bank. A bank is actually structured branch-wise. So branch-wise profitability becomes important. Let's say a large retail company. A retail company works on different retail stores, or they would also work on different SKU level profitability. So store-wise profitability and product level profitability become very important in a retail company. So this way you will do various kinds of profitability analysis, which will again form part of your management reports or decision making reports that you supply to the CFO and other senior business leaders in the company. So broadly, no matter what kind of a company you go into, small, medium, large, you will find these three categories of work in a budgeting, forecasting, and management reporting or management commentaries. Okay. Now, the activities in FP&A are not just restricted to these three activities. Now, we'll come to a little bit more set of activities. Now, what are the key traits required for you to be successful at FP&A? What are those core skill sets? Now, there could be dozens of skill sets that people would emphasize on. But for the sake of this session, I'll just stick to 4 most important skill sets that are important for being successful at. First is business acumen. Business acumen is your ability to think like a CEO. It's your ability to think beyond numbers. And I'll give you an example. We were once pitching for a client. I was working with a large advertising company, and we were once pitching for a client, and the client was actually Facebook. We were pitching for the entire marketing and public relations remit of Facebook. Okay. And I computed the pricing and I went to the general manager and I said that, hey boss, I think the pricing that we're charging to Facebook is very less. Generally, we make 20% margin, but in this case, we're only making about 5 to 7% margin. Okay. So I think we should increase our prices. But his take was completely different. His point was that, okay, can you imagine that if Facebook becomes our client and if Facebook is on our client roster, how many doors for other technology companies will this open? Now, that is how a businessman or a general manager is thinking, as opposed to a numbers person or a finance person where they solely focused on numbers. So understanding that overall context of the business, that is what is business acumen. Then comes analytical skills. Analytical skills is your ability to correlate different set of numbers, observe patterns, exceptions, and correlations. Now, let me give you an example. If I tell you that the marketing budget is $5 million. Now, as a standalone number, this $5 million is not giving you any information. But now my analyst, let me put down my analyst hat. Now I'll start doing some analysis. Okay, let me take this $5 million as a percentage of revenue. Now, let's say my revenue is $100 million. So $5 million as a percentage of $100 million is 5%. So I'm spending 5% on my marketing cost, which means for every $100 that I'm earning in revenue, I'm spending $5 on my marketing cost. Now, this has given me some perspective. Okay, but this still doesn't tell me is it high, low, is it as per the trend? Then what I do, I compare my marketing expenses with the last 3 years average. Now, last 3 years average tell me that my marketing spends have been 3% of sales. Now, this year we are spending 5% of sales. Now, this is a trigger. Now, again, I'll go back to the marketing director and ask questions as to why are we spending 2% more? Is it one time? Is it recurring? Are we making some significant rebranding or marketing expenses or investments in this year? That's why the expenses are high. If not, then why can't we bring it down to 2 to 3%, which was the average of the last 3 years? Now, you see, with one marketing number, I was able to build correlations. I was able to put some pattern around it and draw some insights to have a meaningful conversation with the marketing director. That's your analytical skills. Then comes building cross-functional relationships. Typically, you will be receiving a lot of inputs from various business teams, and then you will be providing them with a lot of insights to take decisions. So strong cross-functional teams, strong cross-functional relationships really help you cement that deal or rather influence their decisions to take prudent financial decisions, right? So that's why building cross-functional relationships is probably the number one skill required for FP&A professionals. Then comes IT and data literacy. Now, you don't necessarily be a tool expert in every tool that is available out there, okay? But simple IT tools, every company will be using some tools like they could be using a Power BI, they could be using a FP&A tool, whatever tool they are using, you need to at least start getting used to that tool. Then comes data literacy. Okay, data literacy is your ability to understand various relationships, basic statistical things like mean, median, mode, averages, standard deviation. Right? Try and understand these basic statistical information so that you are able to analyze that data and build some patterns or bring some correlations out of it so that you can develop your insights. That is what is data literacy. So again, these four core skill sets, which are absolutely non-negotiable: business acumen, analytical skills, ability to build strong cross-functional relationships, and IT and data literacy to some extent. Okay. Now, how does a typical FP&A month look like? So typically there could be a number of different activities that the teams carry out. Okay. It's not restricted only to budgeting, forecasting, and management reporting. There could be a number of small set of activities that teams carry out. So many times, business teams have this impression that what is FP&A? FP&A budgeting, forecasting. We can't keep doing budgeting and forecasting for throughout the year, right? Every day you can't keep doing budgeting and forecasting. So what do FP&A teams do? There are a number of activities. Again, not an exhaustive list, but let me give you a glimpse of what FP&A, how does a typical FP&A month look like? Asif, if you can cover this section, I can take it if you're busy.
I can take it. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So talking about the typical month, so before we get into the week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, right? So before that, couple of notes or that things that you should keep in mind, that this is not the same calendar you will see in each and every organization. So you will probably see something similar, but not exactly the same. The reason being that this is an average of 20-25 organizations that I had seen FP&A calendars. Okay, so this is like an average. Some companies might be doing better than this, which might have a very streamlined FP&A team. They have been working. The FP&A team has been there in existence for more than, I don't know, 10 years. They might be doing much better than this. On the other hand, if you have a very newly set up FP&A team for a startup organization, you might see some things happening here in week 1, there in week 2. Okay, and then eventually they will optimize and they will get to this level and improve. So this is an average FP&A calendar. So you will not exactly see this happening in every organization, but you'll see the sequence, or you'll see the average. If you look at 10 companies, on an average, you will see this calendar across most of them. And second is that this does not include your annual budgeting cycle or your annual operating planning process. That is a 3-month exercise in most companies, which is usually happening once in a year. So since that is not a recurring activity every month, it is not a part of this calendar. Okay, quickly I'll repeat. So this is not a standard or a rule. Okay, this is an average calendar based on our observations. And second is this does not cover the annual operating plan. There is a separate webinar that we do on budget cycle. If you wish to watch that annual budgeting planning process, you can go to YouTube and you can watch that after this webinar. So with that, I'll start with week 1, which is the first week of FP&A. So usually what happens in week 1 is all the reporting related activities. First of all, before even the books of accounts are closed, the senior management would like to know what is the estimate of the revenues and expenses, or what is the latest estimate even before the books of accounts for that previous month is closed. So there you prepare something called as flash report, which is basically telling you, okay, this is what my last month would look like, which may not be 100% accurate, might be 95-98% accurate. It will only be 100% accurate when the books of account close in the next few days. Okay, so that is the flash report that you usually start preparing at the end of the month, and you continue doing that till the time the numbers are ready or the books are closed. Once the accounting books are closed, which is typically done by controller team, not FP&A team. So you will have a controller team or accounting team doing that. And then your role will be to review those numbers and meet the accounting team and ask them any questions that you feel from what has changed from your last forecast or from your last flash report that you had sent. If there has been any entries, any material changes that has happened, why that has happened. So you'll maybe need to have that call with the accounting team or meeting with the accounting team to understand what changes have happened in the last few days after the flash report has been sent or after the last forecast was sent. So that's where you get the month end actual numbers. You start doing month end reports and you start preparing all your month-end reports, which might be your month-end deck to the business teams. It might be the report to the sales team, to the HR team, to different business teams. Usually, FP&A teams would have a set of reports that they prepare or that they publish every month, and you can do that once you have the close numbers for the previous month. So typically that all happens in the week one. Next, after the first week is done, which is week one, you get into forecasting. So if you can bring up week two, what happens in week two is typically you pick up the last updated forecast from the previous month. Okay, so you must have done the last forecast. If you're forecasting on a monthly basis, you must have done the last forecast cycle in the week two of previous month. So you will pick up that forecast and then you will start updating that, and you will make changes to the outer months, meaning if you are updating the forecast for, say, if you are at the end of March and you are updating the forecast for 3 plus 9, meaning 3 months of actuals and 9 months of forecast. So you will revisit the 9 months of forecast, which is from April to December, and you will make any changes required, any assumptions that have changed, any inputs that usually come from business have changed, any updates that you want to make based on the actual that have come in. So all of those changes you will make, and you'll get it reviewed from the business teams, you'll get it reviewed from the business unit head, you'll get it reviewed from CFO. Once everybody is happy, you will then upload that, log that, and upload it in the system. Okay. And now that version of the forecast, which is in this example that I took, the 4 plus 8 forecast or the 3 forecast, that will become the point of comparison when you do the actual reporting in the first week next month. So you will use this as a point of comparison, or you may choose to use this as a point of comparison whenever you do the variance analysis or when reporting in the next month end in the week one, just like you did just 1 week back. Okay, so that is what the forecast week looks like, more or less. Okay, let's go to week three. And once you are done with the management reporting and once you're done with the forecasting part, the week three is more or less a ad hoc week where you try to do all the other things that you could not do during the week one, week two. And I'll just list down some items, and usually we cover this in detail in our CDFPA and PNA masterclass curriculum. So some items that you do might be profitability analysis. It might be working capital management. It might be recharges and allocations. It might be supporting the business on any other project that the business might want your help on. So FP&A team is also involved in a lot of projects. So it might be one of those projects that you are working more during week three. You might be working on automation. You might be working on looking at risk and opportunity. So the forecast that you submitted last week, you must make sure that you continuously revisit that for any material changes. If anything material is changed from the previous submitted number in the forecast, you might want to give a heads up, or you might want to just give a update to the senior management. That is usually week three. So week one was management reporting, week two forecasting, week three is more or less ad hoc activities that you see on the week three list. And then week four is again you start preparing for the month end for the next month, which is week one for the next month. And that is a place where you start working with the accounting teams. In most cases, accounting team will be doing all of these activities, but you might be able to help the accounting team in some or the other way because you are closer to the business. It might be on all of these activities that you see, which is closing the revenues, closing the books, making sure the accrual entries, the prepaid entries, all of the accounting adjustments are done properly based on business inputs. So you do that working with the accounting team, and then you continue to do the risk and opportunity monitoring and continue supporting the business. And then again, the week one will continue where you will start doing at the end of the week four, you'll start doing the flash reports, and then you'll continue doing that. And that again, the monthly cycle will continue. So this is how the typical month of FP&A look like. Management reporting is first, followed by forecasting. So week three is more or less ad hoc, and then week four is more or less preparation for week one, where you also try to do all of the roll forward of the files, all the pre-work that you can do beforehand for preparation for next month's month end. This is how typical month looks like.
Thanks, Asif. So I hope you get some idea about what are the different set of activities involved in FP&A. So let's do a quick discussion, and I want you to respond with your comments in the chat box. So here's a scenario for you. You have just joined as an FP&A manager in a new company 2 days ago. What are your thoughts on how will you approach your job, and what steps will you take to understand your role better? Whatever is just coming to your mind, just type it in the chat box. Don't Google or chat GPT, just go by your instinct. Just type your responses in the chat box. You have joined as a new FP&A manager. What are some of the steps that you will take to take quick control of your role or take control of your role? Understand the business model of the company. Okay, that's right. What else? Come on, go by your instinct. Don't think too much. Type your responses in the chat box. That's it. Only one response. You've joined as a new FP&A manager. So what steps will you take You get familiar with your role, understanding the accounting structure. Okay, accounting structure. Okay, and then start to observe how my team reacts to my joining and what will be they be doing. Okay, right. So now you could be handling a team, you could be an individual. And so basically you will try and assess your team, your stakeholders who are there in the business, other business units as well. Okay, so understand who are there in the business unit, how the company is structured, who are your key stakeholders, and what is the set of reports that the company is preparing, right? Okay, the overall financial health of the company, where the company stands. Okay, great. So I got some responses. Again, all of you are not wrong, but let me give you a quick framework of how you can take quick control of your role. And I would like to call this framework as FP&A success mantra. So once you join a new role, there are three things that you need to focus on. One is organization structure and understanding where you fit into the organization structure. Then stakeholders. Who are your important stakeholders? Who are your stakeholders whom you are going to send some reports or collect inputs from them? Is it a business unit lead? Is it the GM? Is it the CEO? Is it the CFO? Who are your key stakeholders? And then what are the industry KPIs or key performance indicators that the company is tracking? What are the KPIs they're using for revenue? What are the KPIs they're using for margins? So these are the three things that you will need to understand. And let's spend some time on it to understand each of them. Now, in org structure, there could be 4 different type of structures which you could be a part of. One is at the regional level. Let's say if you are FP&A manager North, FP&A manager APAC, FP&A manager Middle East and Africa, whatever. So whatever is the region that your company is following, you could be a regional manager, in which case your stakeholders will be the regional heads, the global FP&A team or the corporate FP&A team, right? And the leaders within your region as well. Then you could be in a strategic business unit level. You could be embedded in the finance of a certain business unit. Okay. For example, when I started my career, I started with a large oil and gas company and we had 7 business units. I was embedded as manager of one business unit called industrial and commercial. And we were actually managing all the pricing and everything for industrial fuels. So you could be part of that particular business unit as well, in which case the business unit leaders and the corporate FP&A team, they will be your stakeholders. Then comes your global shared services centers. Many companies, American and European companies, are now outsourcing their work to cost-effective economies like India, Philippines, right? You could be sitting in the shared services here and your stakeholders or serving stakeholders who are sitting in Europe and US. Or alternatively, you could be a FP&A manager sitting in the US or Europe, and your team of FP&A analysts is actually sitting in India, who's going to support you on some reporting and analysis as well. So you could be part of a global shared services setup as well. Then comes project-based or client-based setup, where you could be managing a cluster of projects or a cluster of clients. Now, for example, take the example of a large architect firm or an interior design firm. They work from project to project, and typically these projects are massive, large projects. They could probably run for a couple of years, in which case somebody needs to take care of that entire project budgeting, forecasting, how the project is being delivered, resourcing, profitability. So the project finance is one role that you could be executing. Then client finance, you could be catering to a certain clients or a cluster of clients. Like for example, when I was working with a large advertising company, we had one dedicated CFO sitting out of Switzerland who was actually managing our relationship as an advertising agency, global relationship with Union Bank of Switzerland, right? So the CFO and a small team of people were actually taking care of only that one client, because it was a large client for us and probably formed 8 to 10% revenue of a global revenue. And that's why it had a dedicated CFO to take care of the entire relationship, the budgeting, forecasting, and all of those things as well. And that could be a client level CFO role as well that you could be part of. Now, depending on where you are structured, where you're based, your stakeholders will accordingly change. Now, who could be your stakeholders? Your stakeholders could be any cross-functional team members. Could be HR head, sales, business development, production, operations, supply chain, legal, a number of different kind of team members. And regularly, you will be collecting some inputs and updates from them. Let's say you're collecting the sales target updates from the sales team, right? And you will be providing certain reports and insights, right? After the month-end close, the variance analysis, the resourcing, capacity utilization, all of these things, some reports and insights you will be providing to the various business teams. So it's not going to be a role of isolation. You will be comfortable. You have to be comfortable with interacting with various stakeholders in the company. And then comes KPIs. I'm going to have some questions for you. KPIs or key performance indicators. Now, what 1 or 2 KPIs do you think an oil and gas refining company would be tracking? Okay, don't just Google or ChatGPT this. Just go by your instinct. An oil refining company, which is basically buying crude oil, refining it into petrol, diesel, gasoline, and then selling it in the market. So what are some of the KPIs do you think that the oil and gas company would be tracking? Just take some guess. Put your responses in the chat box. Come on, quickly. Go by your instinct. Don't Google or ChatGPT this. Okay, revenue, costs. Okay. No more responses. How about a software services company? A company that provides custom software services, employs a lot of software engineers, team leaders, developers. What do you think are some of the KPIs that a software company would be tracking? Software services company would be tracking. Come on, quickly. Type your response in the chat box. Nobody? Okay, for oil and gas company, I'm still getting responses. Crude oil prices. Okay. Number of software buyers, basically revenue. Okay. Revenue or customers. What else? How about a SaaS company, software as a service, typically subscription based? What are some of the KPIs that this company would track? SaaS based company. Software is software services, where we are dealing with custom software. SaaS is a subscription based model. Like, for example, Netflix is actually a SaaS based company. Okay. Software engineers is knowledge, competitors like fintech, companies, business. No, I need KPIs. What will you track? Number of customers, number of orders, all of these things are KPIs, key performance indicators that you will be tracking to track the performance of the business. For example, if you are a Netflix, you would be tracking the number of website visitors, you would be tracking the number of subscribers, right? Okay. Again, I'm capturing some examples here, not an exhaustive list. An oil and gas company would be tracking something called as a gross refining margin, which is basically simply your selling price minus your cost of crude oil. Then gross margin, which is your selling price minus your cost of goods sold. The net margin is your gross margin minus your discount. So these are some of the KPIs that a oil and gas refining company tracks. A software company, apart from the revenue, could be tracking something called as a compensation ratio or a staff cost ratio, salary ratio, because people are your biggest cost in a software company. Typically 40 to 50% of your sales price is actually goes into people cost or staff cost. Revenue per headcount, compensation per headcount. You also want to track the efficiency versus the competitors. So that's why you'll be tracking revenue per headcount, compensation per headcount as a KPI as well. In a SaaS-based company, you would be tracking annual recurring revenue. What is the customer acquisition cost? What is the churn rate or the net new subscribers? All of these things are some of the KPIs that a SaaS company would be tracking. So again, depending on which sector your company operates in, try and study about the KPIs that the company is tracking, top 10 KPIs that the company would be tracking. So if you are able to get hold of these three things, org structure and where you fit into the organization structure, then stakeholders, who are your important stakeholders and what influence they have on your role, and then your KPIs. If you're able to understand these three things, then you will be able to take quick control of your role. That's the success mantra. Now, how do you build a career in FP&A? So I'm going to give you a quick framework. If I have to draw parallels to building your FP&A career, like building a house, right? Everything starts with conceptual understanding as your foundation, right? You need to understand budgeting, forecasting, management reporting. All of these things are your conceptual understanding, variance analysis, scenario planning, modeling. These are your conceptual understanding, and there is absolutely no substitute for this. Then on top of the conceptual understanding, you will have to build the three pillars. That is your soft skills, your ability to communicate data, your ability to communicate with cross-functional team members. That is your soft skills. Then comes your experience. Typically, as and when you start spending more time into the business or a certain sector, you will become a sector expert, right? You will become an oil and gas expert. You will become a software industry expert. You will become an advertising industry expert. So you'll have to club your experience and your business knowledge with your knowledge. And then comes tool. Tools could be various analysis tools. It could be Power BI, Tableau. It could be FP&A tools that your company is operating. Could be like an Anaplan or a JDocs or any FP&A tool that your company is operating in. So tools are your aid to your conceptual understanding, and you will have to start learning the tools that your company is using. So on your conceptual understanding as a foundation, you will need these three pillars: soft skills, experience, and tools. And you top it up with continuous improvements, continuous learning, and leadership skills. You might start as an analyst, but at some point in time, you will become an FP&A manager, a team leader, a business controller, or whatever. And then you have to learn to lead a team and then continuously keep adapting yourself. See, business models today are not remaining stagnant. Okay, probably 10 years ago, nobody knew about asset-light business models, or 20 years ago, nobody knew about Uber or Amazon or let's say an Oyo Rooms, right, or an Airbnb. So nobody knew about these asset-light business models. So continuously, business models and the way companies are making money is evolving, and you have to keep adapting yourself on a continuous basis. So a simple framework, conceptual understanding, soft skills, experience, tools, and keep continuously improving and adapting yourself. So this is your quick career framework and how you'll have to start building your FP&A skill sets. Now that you have some understanding about the role and where does it fit into the organization, you realize how amazing it would be to learn all the high-paying FP&A skill sets. You also want to be prepared for grabbing those opportunities in the FP&A function, which we are seeing an extreme rise in the FP&A roles in the recent past, right? So what we have done is that we have spoken to hundreds of CFOs, and we have narrowed down on 5 critical skills that CFOs today are looking for in their teams. Now, which are those 5 skill sets? First is core FP&A concepts: budgeting, forecasting, variance analysis, management reporting. These are your core FP&A concepts. Then comes your financial modeling, building a revenue model, business model, scenario planning, sensitivity analysis, trend analysis. All of that is financial modeling. Then comes data storytelling. How do you communicate your data story into a visual analysis, a visual narrative, and then communicate that to the business teams is important, because they don't understand 10,000 lines of Excel sheets, and they don't understand big reports that you're going to send them. It's important that you communicate your insights so that they can take some precise decisions. Then comes your business partnering. That's ability, your business acumen combined with ability to build strong relationships and influence the business teams to take some positive decisions in the company. Then, of course, leveraging technology and AI developments that are happening in the finance and FP&A field. So these are the 5 core skill sets that CFOs are looking for today in the finance professionals. Now, what we have done at FP&A is, at FPI is that we have come up with our own certification program. It's called the Certified Global FP&A Professional Program, CGFPA program. Now, it's a global FP&A certification taught directly by CFOs and FP&A leaders. It has 10 exhaustive modules, which we'll talk about in a while. Everything through experiential sessions and real life looking like data, case studies, and simulations. We'll also be part of a global alumni network. The FPA program has been taken by students from more than 25 countries. We continuously keep doing a lot of initiatives for our alumni. You get personalized sessions with career coach. You get placement support, your resume review, your interview preparation, mock interviews. We keep sharing a lot of jobs. Recently, we have started something called as FP&Ajobs.com, which is a recent initiative. We are trying to bring in recruiters and FP&A professionals or aspirants together so that we are able to place our students as well. Then comes monthly Q&A sessions. You can ask any queries directly to the instructors. External speaker sessions, globally best of the best FP&A professionals, CFOs, FP&A leaders come to FPI for guest sessions. You can learn directly from the best speakers in the world. We keep conducting 1 or 2 sessions every month, which you will have access to even after completing the course. Then everything is available through easy access online, best-in-class LMS, all the recordings, materials, everything is uploaded so that you can easily access it as well. So all in all, a solid program that will help you establish yourself in FP&A. Now, this has 10 core modules in FP&A. I'll let Asif cover the first 5 modules on the left, and then I'll cover the other modules on the right.
So let me start with the budgeting and forecasting module. So just like you saw a detailed calendar of monthly activities, there is a detailed annual operating planning process, which is usually done in most organizations over a period of 2 to 3 months. The entire budgeting process. What we do in the CGFPA module is we give you simulations and capstone projects, which is real life like looking data, where you go step by step creating the budget, right from starting with the revenue budget to cost of goods sold budget to sales and SG&A to marketing, and all the different pieces of the budget you create or you work on it step by step. And once you do everything, you bring everything together and then you create a budget presentation for the CFO. So that is what the budgeting forecasting module lets you do. It helps you get used to the budgeting forecasting process using simulations and capstone projects. Then there is AI for finance and FP&A, which is always we keep on updating it with newest AI and technological use cases that we see in finance and FP&A. So some of the tools that are covered there are Copilot, ChatGPT. Nowadays, there are very specific AI tools for doing specific activities. For example, there is now AI tool which you can add in Excel, and you could do more advanced prompting the similar way you do in ChatGPT right away in Excel. So there are so many specific tools, use cases that we cover in that module. Then there is management reporting, which is the first week of the month that you saw in the calendar today, which is different types of reports, month-end reports, different management reporting frameworks, balance scorecard, KPIs, OKRs, also different ways you can analyze data. So profitability analysis, variance analysis, all of that is covered in the management reporting module. Then this is my favorite module, which is the financial modeling for FP&A, which basically where I teach you how to use financial modeling techniques and tools to be able to do FP&A related tasks, which you do on a day-to-day basis. So for example, how do you create a revenue model? How do you create a cash flow forecast model? How do you do scenario planning, sensitivity analysis? How do you do capital budgeting in Excel. So all of that is covered in this module, which is financial modeling application specific, very specific for day-to-day FP&A use cases. That is what the module on the left would look like. I will cover the modules on the right-hand side.
Thanks, Asif. The next one is data analytics. No matter what technical role you are in, one thing you'll be coming across is large sets of data. It could be financial or operational data, and you need to know your way. How do you navigate through that data? So that's where we cover the basics of Power BI, Power Query, SQL. At least we take you to a level where you are comfortable using these tools. We don't claim to make you an expert in them, but at least we take you to a level where you are comfortable using these tools in your day-to-day FP&A roles. Different kind of financial analysis. Financial analysis is not just restricted to ratio analysis. And financial analysis from an internal standpoint, right, is very different. Horizontal analysis, vertical analysis, different kinds of profitability. All of those things are part of your financial analysis, which help manage the performance of the business from an internal standpoint, from a CFO standpoint. Then comes storytelling and presentation. How do you communicate your analysis through a proper visual and narrative, right? Storytelling best practices, presentation best practices, all of those things are covered in the storytelling and presentation module. Then comes strategy. Strategy is where any strategic decision that is taken in the company would be incomplete without sound financial analysis. Now, whether it is starting a business in a new geography or expanding into a new product line, all of those analysis would be incomplete, or decisions would be incomplete without sound financial analysis. So in the strategy module, we cover all the popular strategic frameworks and also explain to you how they are interlinked with the FP&A roles through practical examples. And finally, it comes business partnering. That's your business acumen, your ability to build relationships, right? How do you influence the business teams? All of those things are shared with practical business partnering examples that we have implemented in our career. So all in all, 10 solid modules to give everything that you need in the FP&A career. Don't think about CFP as a course. Think about it like 20 years of our experience, fast-tracked into 6 months program. So this is a 6-month program, and we meet every Saturday for 2 hours in a live coaching program. So what is the eligibility for this? You need to either have a bachelor's degree or a global equivalent in finance, accounting, or business. Or alternatively, you may have your professional qualifications like CA, CPA, CFA, CMA, or any of your qualifications or relevant accounting qualifications of your respective country. So we don't claim to be a substitute for your primary qualifications, but in fact, we are a supplement to these qualifications, because what we teach in FP&A is not taught in these particular courses as well. And we are also CPD UK accredited. You can use the hours that you have gained in CGFPA for your continuing credits with any of your accounting bodies as well. Now, there are 2 conditions. One is that you need to attend the programs live online at least 50%. So 6 months program, every Saturday we meet for 2 hours. And of course, you will be busy, you will miss some of the sessions, but that's okay. At least 50% of the classes you need to attend live. And then you need to submit your capstone assignment, and all the guidance will be given on that. Once you submit your capstone assignment, you will then be eligible for the final examination. The final examination is 100 marks, 2 hours, multiple choice questions examination. Okay. And once you complete the examination, you will be awarded the CGFPA certification from FP&A Professionals Institute. We are an autonomous body at this point in time. Okay. Then the ROI for a course like this, which should fast track your career by a few years, I leave it to your imagination. But the course fee investment is $1,695. You can also pay it over 5 installments. The duration is for 6 months. Every Saturday, we meet for 2 hours where we'll be doing the live coaching on Zoom. Apart from that, about 1 to 1.5 hours of your own time investment is required, because we'll be giving you some pre-reading materials, some case studies, some recordings to go through, because we don't want to waste time in the classroom on basics, right? So we directly dive into case studies and complex discussions as well. And then, so about 3 to 4 hours of your weekly time investment is required. So this is designed for busy professionals. We know all of you you could be working in your existing roles, but this is 3 to 4 hours of commitment is all we need every week. The next cohort is cohort number 6, which is going to start from 6th of September. The orientation is scheduled for 6th of September. The classes will be starting sometime at the end of September. So 6th September is a date that you will need to remember. The other date that you will need to remember is that the first round of applications are actually closing today, which is 31st of July 2025. Only the applications. Asif will share the application link and the brochure link in the chat box. Please make sure that you fill in the applications. Let us assess your eligibility. My team will assess your eligibility, and we can come back to you with the right kind of offer that is prevalent at that point in time. Again, don't take our word for it. There are tons and tons of testimonials. Many of them have successfully transitioned into FP&A roles. Many of them have got a lot of FP&A calls and interviews during the CGFPA program itself. Many of them have been able to implement a lot of frameworks that they have learned in the CGFPA program at their workplaces. So again, you can reach out to any of our alumni and they'll give you a feedback about what the CGFPA program has been. Cool. So again, just a reminder, that the first round of applications for the CGFP program closed today. So make sure that you at least fill in the application. Whether you decide to do the CGFP program or not is secondary, but just at least fill in the application, be in the race. My team will reach out to you, and then go through the brochure, understand. You can also feel free to book a call with either Asif or me once you go through the brochure. If you still have any questions about the program, about the placement support, about anything that we have mentioned in the brochure, just go through it and feel free to book a call with us as well. Yeah. And the CGFP program is a 6-month exhaustive program. But let's say you're saying that, okay, I'm not sure if FP&A is for me, or I'm not sure, I'm just a beginner, I have no clue about FP&A, I just want to get started somehow with FP&A. Then we also have a beginner to intermediate level course, which is called FP&A Masterclass, which is available on our website. Again, the links will be shared in the chat box. It's a 4 weeks program, roughly about 16 to 20 hours of content, covers all the essential modules like budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, data storytelling, with some examples. Yeah, so the recorded version is available on the platform just for $97. Along with that, you also get how to prepare your resume, how do you prepare for the interview. All of these things you will get in the FP&A Masterclass program as well. Okay. So if you are an absolute beginner, you have absolutely no idea about FP&A, then start with the FP&A Masterclass. But if you're serious about making a career in FP&A, you need some advanced concepts, you need some support on placement support and everything on FP&A jobs, then definitely CGFPA program is the right program for you. One thing I can definitely tell you is that start learning FP&A today. I get approached by CFOs, I get approached by a lot of people every day. We end up posting at least 2 to 3 FP&A jobs every day on the alumni WhatsApp community, right? There's huge demand for FP&A. So no matter where you learn it from, start learning FP&A today, right? Take some baby steps, take some action point right from today. Yeah. And hopefully we will see you in one of our programs.
Thanks, Dhawal. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.